Hey, what's going on, friends? Welcome to the chat, little community campfire Q&A chat for us all to powwow, sort out some of the confusion out there, get everyone on the same page, get ready for the next big chapter that's coming up. We've got to wrap up some loose ends, and then we're going to get on to some really exciting stuff very, very soon. What's up, Mark? Good to see you on here joining us. Good afternoon, Lemonheads. Yes, may the lives be full of zest. I hope so. I'm feeling zesty myself. I was feeling good lately. Tired, but zesty. Lemonheads United. Greetings, Carol from Houston. Very nice. Very good. I like it. Good stuff. MCon, that's nice. North Carolina, let's go. Yeah, bro, I'm with you. I'm with you, man. I love it. Good to see you on here, buddy. What do we got? Yeah, that's it. Crazy. Lemons, it's good. Terry's good. Norway in the house. Going on, Chris? How you doing? Chris is from Florida. Yeah, I think so. Chris, we'll have to get together at some point in time. Norway in the house. Very nice. What's going on, Steve? What's going on, Dan? I like it. Yeah, very nice. The wrong city, but that's all right. Hey, you're in the wrong part. You're in the good spots. Pretty good. Colorado, Nico, what's going on, my man? All right, good stuff, friends. All right, we are at 3:03 here, so let's just get straight into it. So why don't you guys start dropping in your questions in the chat? I kind of want to make this a community-driven call, so we take on the questions that you guys have, and we'll try and sort some stuff out, and get everyone on the same page, make sure that no one's being left behind on anything, and that we're getting ready to move forward. I love it when people are at work and still listening. I love that shit. That always gets me extra happy. That puts a big smile on my face. I dig that. Some people realize, right, that there's work, but then you got to put your energy in the thing that's going to set you free, right? And that is almost never, ever work. I've never seen a job set anyone free yet in my life. Maybe if you're a CEO for a really big company, but you're selling your soul and doing a lot of horrible things. And yeah, maybe those guys. That's about it. All right, all good. Steve's in with the questions. First question in. So let's the sound going in and out. Is anyone else having sound problems? Or are we good? Or are we just having one person with sound problems? Oh yeah, drop the questions in the chat. I'll take them on. I'm going to check my audio here for a second and see if everything seems right. And yeah, it should be good. All right. Let's assume it was just a little choppy internet connection maybe, which is also why we don't host validators at home. Do we need to have the cloud hosting sorted by the 5th? Great question, Steve. So yes, the answer is yes. It does not need to be sorted today. So Steve's question is for those who are validators who realize that you don't want to do it at home because you get choppy internet like I'm currently experiencing. Bad idea. With your cloud hosting, we are looking to get straight into testnet activities. We want to get the L1 launch as fast as possible. In order to do that, we need to get busy testing. And we cannot test without validators. There's been a good series of testing already done, but there's certain things that can never go past the validator stage. And so, I mean, my suggestion, of course, would be just go on there today and get it over with so you don't have to think about it. But that's just me. But you are free to wait a few days if that feels better for you. Okay, let's see what we got here. Is it a wise decision to keep Rev, Bev, Drip, and Blocks NFTs for migration? Let's dissect that a little bit, right? Because the answer is not black and white. So I would say that Bev and Drip are merging into one project. Bev still has a decent amount of tokens left in the EGI pool. So you will still get some value, right? You'll still get some value from that. So I guess you kind of got to weigh if you're a large Bev holder or not. But long story short, we've already done 6 quarterings. I would say that you're probably better off swapping those for brand new projects. Now, the only caveat being is that airdrops will come soon. I just don't know if airdrops will come before swapping is over. So you weigh that choice out. And I also believe that token distribution is starting tomorrow, I believe. And so if token distribution were to start tomorrow and you did not migrate, I would rather get new tokens versus waiting for the airdrop. So hopefully that clears that up. On the Rev side, there is no tokens left anyway at all, which, oh God, who was excited about Rev yesterday? If you guys don't understand what's going on, we'll have to get into that after if we have time. But what happened yesterday was actually quite exciting and remarkable for those who understood it. Some of you did not. And then the Blocks NFTs, the consensus for most Blocks NFTs is that they are just going to keep them. So you get to choose if you want to keep them or not keep them. There's pros and cons. Blocks still has a lot of tokens left in the EGI pool, so you're definitely going to get real value from maintaining those NFTs. You just have to decide how big of a holding you currently have and how excited you are about new projects versus the size of your current holdings. Right, but Blocks will do well, and the NFTs currently have value. We got my buddy James. James, how you been, man? I haven't seen you in a long time. We've been caught up in a while. Went away for one day golfing. Token pump chaos. I know. Well, James, for what it's worth, buddy, I did delete several hundred messages in the chat yesterday and tried my damnedest to curb it, and we had to throttle people with the timer a little bit. I prefer not to do shit like that, guys. Be considerate in the chats. Hashtag be considerate in the chats. Be considerate of the chats. The chats are not your personal support ticket desk. Those chats are for the whole community to share in, and no one wants to be like James, can't find the good information and missing out on everything. Yeah. So that pump was really exciting to watch for a period of time, but we kind of knew it would fizzle out, but it was really good, and we'll get into that if we can. Good. Sounds good. Good. Hey, all right, guys, let me know if we don't have clarity on those 4 NFTs. I hope that is all we need to talk about. Liz, okay, I think I follow what you're saying. I hope so. James, still confused. All right. Jalinder, good to see you, my man. Good to have some friends from India here. That's good stuff. All right, James, what happened yesterday? What happened yesterday is there is a trust wallet that was locked up. Hasn't been used in a long time. It had 500,000 debt coins in there that needed using, and they needed to be used for the benefit of the community in most people's opinions. And the best way to use them in the community is to burn them. And we want to migrate those projects over, and we had that had to be expended for the migration to happen. So Jason made the decision to just liquidate the entire 500,000 amongst the 4 projects that trust account was always intended to be, divided up by those 4 projects, which was great. It's given the sellers and the people who want to exit the ecosystem, they all got a great window to exit if they want to exit. And for those of us who are holders, this was fantastic because it contributed massively to the burns, and we definitely shrunk the token supply massively yesterday. So personally, that pumps me up and gets me excited because I'm holding. Yeah, Yulia, just ignore all those rumors. I mean, that's just nonsense. I don't know why the hell anyone's putting that in writing. The vote is definitely going to pass. The community will be respected by getting to vote, which I absolutely love. But there's 0 doubts in my mind that vote will pass and all will be good. Good stuff. How many validators can go on one cloud? Don't quote me because I think the number is a little variable, and I'll get with Joe and confirm that. But I think it's in the 7 to 8 range. Short term, we can overclock those, so to speak. And in the early days, the blockchain will not be near as busy as when it scales up. So we'll be able to handle that. That's not really a big concern. So, but get back with me on that question later on if I haven't covered it. And there's a few things I'd like to add to that if we have time. So I'll make sure I grab the other questions first, and then we'll circle back if that works. Can you explain what happened yesterday? And for us rookies, why is best to hold rather than sell? What was great opportunity for some who made enough to purchase a validator. Wow. Yeah, Suzanne, you're not wrong there. Let's be honest about it. There was some windows of time where it was going to be very dicey, right? There's not a lot of liquidity or volume yesterday. So someone who was trying to game the system yesterday could have got pinched and could have got hurt for sure. Only certain trades were going to go through because of the volume and stuff. But some people did succeed at getting some of their tokens out at some of the higher price points. And yes, it was technically a materialized, profit, if you will. And they could use those funds as they see fit, including being a validator for those who had that as a goal. So yes, it could have worked out great, but it could have worked out very poorly also. And the truth is everyone sold for pennies on the dollar yesterday, no matter what. No matter how high you saw the prices yesterday, if in your mind, if you thought that was a high price, it may be a high price compared to what we've seen over the past year or two, which, you know, that's a story for another time. And many of you already know that story well. Those prices are nothing compared to where they're going long term. They're just not, plain and simply nothing compared to where they're going. So anyone who did sell yesterday may have achieved a short-term goal, but they lost out on a lot of future price action had they just held on. So to me, hey, ouch, that hurts. Which could have been a rev yesterday. Yeah, part of us all does. I mean, I enjoyed watching the show. I decided not to play the game. I'm a long-term holder. I don't want to, it's just one of those things that had to happen in the ecosystem. And I'm really grateful for exiting a lot of sellers. When the sellers permanently exit the ecosystem, that means the future price action is awesome for us. I do not personally want to see a single dollar of Lemon's liquidity being donated to sellers who don't even care about the project, right? Like, I absolutely do not want to see that. So the earlier we get them out before the migration, the better, big time. So I love that. Your tokens will auto transfer, but your NFTs need to be swapped if you want out of those NFTs. Yep, there's royalties and everything ready, all coming right down the road. You're going to see it and going to love it. Let's see here. Same thing happened yesterday with Rev going to happen with Blocks or other OG. Well, it did happen yesterday. It happened with Rev, Bev, Drip, and Blocks. All 4 projects had some massive burns, massive consolidation of wallets, massive selling off of the wallets. Fantastic. I love it as a holder. Can't wait. We want all the Lemon liquidity to go to only people who believe in the project. We want it to go for the holders. These tokens were not designed for people to sell on a daily basis to try and live off them. And that's that you can never sell. You get the choice to sell. But, man, talk about not understanding what's going on. You don't understand deflation if you're playing that game. What do we got? ETA instructions for validators. Yeah, there aren't a lot of instructions for validators. I think that's the first most important thing to cover. So when you see right on the website, right, you go on the DApp and you click on the validator thing and it says you will expect an email within 3 days, but it's 3 business days. So some of the people bought it on Friday and they're freaking out by Sunday. They didn't hear from anyone. Give it a rest. Give it a minute. If it's been too long and you really haven't heard from anyone, you just hit me up with a DM. I know exactly who's in charge of that. I'll forward it to them and make sure it gets handled. But what will happen next is that you guys, it's just a suggestion. Okay, so I'm very clear. You can go to any place that you'd like. There are plenty of options. You can own your own hardware at home if you'd like. That's fraught with problems, as Jason and I very much broke down on our last call. You are welcome to do that, but there is a solution built for Lemonheads by Lemonheads. All the hardware, the entire cloud's owned by Lemonheads. I say it supports your own, of course, and it's a fantastic offering. If Mike is on the call today, Mike, you let me know if you're on that call. I see you in the chat, and if you're open to or willing to jump on for a few minutes, I'll get you to verify that the current offering is an excellent offering, and I know you know the difference. You're deep into the cloud world. So, but it's a great offering. So then you would just go to www.lemonnodes.com. You pay the subscription to have the service completely managed for you, so you don't have to do anything. But there will come a time close to August 5th where you will probably be given something along the lines of like a software key, which you are then going to give to your cloud provider to prove that you have the license, so to speak, to be a validator, and they will take care of everything else. You will log into your dashboard. You're going to have to participate during the test net. We'll probably do some mock votes. We'll play around with the dashboard. We'll probably do some mock staking, and I suspect lots of different, regular activities for validators, which is mostly automated, but there are some things you need to do, and those things will all take place once you are live and hosted on the network. One more question. Swap for OGs. Are we swapping the same way as before? Yeah, unstake on the DApp, swap it over to Lemon. Exactly. You pick and choose whichever projects make the most sense for you, and you get the most squeeze of the juice out of the assets that you do have. I think that's a wise move, and you get to pick where you want to put them. Yeah, Steve, we are, the last that I heard, no one quote me on this, all right? I'm not in control of other people's schedules, but last I heard, we're expecting not just an announcement, but a monster announcement. The equivalent of a big earthquake announcement. I am fully expecting this week, unless something has changed. That's the last that I have heard. If it got changed, we just have to assume it got changed for a reason and not assume the worst. Just have to assume there was a reason behind it. And not only that, I think there is a lot of other announcements coming this week that are going to be very exciting for anyone in the ecosystem. A lot of the things that you've been hearing about, I think, are all going live this week. So I think this is going to be a very big week as we wrap up what has been already a very exciting July, right? I mean, it always goes a little slower than many people want. I get that, in fairness. But hey, lots of projects, tokens, staking, minting, light papers, and apps and all that stuff are all finishing up right now. And so that's the July, lays the foundation. We use the half-ish, early-ish, majority-ish of August to fully launch the L1 and be done and make that an official launch, that we've finished the transition, and then we get busy bringing out new projects and telling the world. And that's when it gets really exciting, in this guy's opinion. What about the validator pools? Are we still good? Validator pools are all good as far as I know. Last I had talked to Aldo. The only caveat I'll add, and maybe Aldo has already worked out a solution, so just to give anyone a heads up who's already in the pools, just so your head is already thinking there and you can help support Aldo, please be supportive, spread the word in those groups that you're in, is that the original plan, the idea is that when the validators go live, that there would be a deduction from the proceeds that come in, that come off the top before distributions go out, because there are costs like cloud hosting that need to be handled. And unfortunately, we cannot do a blockchain testnet without the validators being live, aka cloud hosted. And those cloud hosting expenses need to get paid so those validators can participate in the testnet. And there will be a window of time, hopefully not too long, hopefully only a few weeks, before there are proceeds coming in to cover those cloud hosting expenses, and they're not on Aldo to cover on his own. So hopefully he's got an idea of a solution, but I think it'll probably have to be a small crowdfunding kind of deal that has to get going for that. So add on to that question. If we have 3 validators on one cloud, do we have to pay the monthly fee once? You do have to pay for every license instance that you are hosting on there. So if you have 3, you pay for 3. And that's because each VM that you create when you sign up for that service will dedicate a certain amount of hard drive space, a certain amount of RAM, dedicate a certain amount of processing power, a certain number of processors to you. So your portion of the blockchain, your node on the chain, can validate all those transactions. It requires that amount of processing power. And so you can't have 3, you can't be the owner of 3 real estate parcels on the blockchain and only operate it on 4 processors, for example. It's going to require 16. So you got to pay for the hardware that you're using. Which, please remind me, I want to touch on that again after, but since it only applies to those who are going this route, I'll save it towards a little bit later in the call and just see if we can get through all the other questions first. But please remind me to come back to that after. I have some ideas to share with everyone. Is there going to be another pump for Bevan trip like Rev? Well, there was yesterday. Everything was amazing. I loved it. We burned out so many tokens. Fantastic. And so price pumps are incoming for everything. It's just a function of the math. Everything that we've talked about, all the tokenomics. We can get into some tokenomics maybe later if there's some time. But yeah, they've got a very bright future. I'm very excited about all 4 of those projects going forward. It's just that the EGI pool is exhausted for the most part on 3 of them. So you just want to go get a better squeeze of juice wherever you can. But stock up on those tokens, because those tokens, I think, have a very, very bright future. So that's the point. Listen, revoking Wallet Connect approvals is always a very wise practice. So I never want to discourage it. With that said, if the only place you Wallet Connect is our own native dApp, you shouldn't have to revoke. But it is just a good practice to have, if that makes sense. What's going on, Frank? Good to see you on here, buddy. Yeah, we had a great chat last night. Great catching up with you last night. That's fun. This has been answered in the chat over and 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 over again. All L2 projects will list when they list, sometime within 90 days of their launching time. With that said, I think it's this week, so we will see. Do you think they'll be able to get a validator in September, October? Yes, Chris, this is what I envision. Let me give you the timeline of how I think it will play out. I'm speculating this, how I think it will play out. I think that we will close the window for validators come August 5th. I believe that we will have at least 500, likely a little more. Then we will close the window. You will not be able to purchase a validator. We have to close it all down. Then we are going to move heavily all the resources into getting testnet satisfied, making sure that the validators and the software works as it should and all that good stuff, so we can have a good functional blockchain so we don't fall on our face the day it launches to the public, and we get that ready. And I would say, I'm speculating, do not hold me to a date. This is tech. You never know with tech. But I would say in the last week or 2 of August, I think the team would, in the perfect world, like to have everything flawlessly tested. It's tech. Who knows? And I see no reason that I know of to delay it any further. Once testing is done, I think we go live. And then so in late August, let's call it September 1, just for putting it in your mind, let's say on September 1, blockchain should be live by then in the perfect world. Then I believe the window for validators reopens up. And then there will be a cap, a hard cap, a maximum of 5,000 that can be on the network for now, until the network grows further in size down the road. Then they'll bring on more. And during that window of time for the next 5,000, which I think will go fast, I think it'll be a September thing, right? I don't think it'll be like September in one weekend. I don't think it'll be September in 1 week. But I think, let's just use for loose numbers, that window to be a validator will probably be open until October. And then it will close probably for 2 years. But then you have an opportunity to be validated. So hopefully that answers the question. Let's see what we got here. Will we also swap the 4 OG project tokens that are in safe pile or otherwise rather than rewards? You don't have to swap them. They just convert over. So I wouldn't worry about that. All automated. It'll come as it comes. How do we get people to stake on our validator? No, Dan, there isn't any of that process, as I explained in my, I thought I explained a couple times in my last Q&A video. For those who did not catch it, let's try and clear this up. The size of the cloud that is currently offering the custom solution for our community, lemonnodes.com, is still a very small cloud. They do not have enough hardware, barely scraping by to have enough hardware to cater to all of our validators. But it depends how many validators come on the cloud. I think the majority of the community will. If the majority of the community does, everyone's box is full. Everyone's box is completely full. There's no reason to even think about your box. We don't have enough boxes. We need more hardware, which I'll touch on a little bit later on. We need more hardware. For anyone who's thinking about it, you're missing out on a real opportunity, but we can chat about that a bit after. Became a validator several days ago. However, I received an email. Yes, I checked the spam. Well, for now, as I stated just a little bit earlier in the call, you have to wait a bunch of business days. Just patiently wait for it. There's absolutely nothing for you to do right now. But most people have an email in their spam folder, and it's definitely there. And if it isn't, then you just DM me, and I will get you connected to the right person. If I have multiple validators, there isn't a way to have them all. Guys, if we need, let's just use a round number. If we need 500 servers to operate all validators on the cloud, and we only have 400 servers currently in the warehouse, I'm just using round numbers here. I'm not saying those are the numbers. They're on everyone's servers. We are exceeding capacity. That means everyone's servers will be overclocked to cater to the blockchain until more come. So they are always on your server, as I explained in my last Q&A video. Everything is done on one public cloud. You're just creating a software program. It's a virtual instance, and that software program goes back into the cloud to find the resources that it needs. So it's not like we literally physically go look for your name tag on a server and then go upload it onto your physical box and a name tag and plug it in like an old floppy disk. It's just not how it operates. I'll get into that some more after as well for those who really are, already validators. I totally understand why you guys have those questions, and I do want to absolutely clear them up. I'm just bear with me. I'm very tired, getting very little sleep lately. But I want to make sure we take enough questions about tokenomics and swaps and deadlines and any other stuff for everybody else who are not validators. Yes, Suzanne. I have a strong feeling, and I can't confirm, and I'm not confirming because I don't know, but I think Lemflix is going live tomorrow. It's not tomorrow. It's like this week. I'm very surprised if you don't get to subscribe this week. I'm pretty sure everything's done and ready to go on that front. So we got here. I've left my blocks NFTs staked to accumulate tokens. You don't have to unstake the blocks at all. You stay in. It just migrates over into the new project, and you keep on mining. All good. If there are only 200 validators sold to community and founders take the rest of the 300, yikes, friends, don't let that happen. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's any scenario where that happens. I really do not see that happening. Well, there's enough founders tokens to stake. Don't get lost in the number of tokens staked on your validator. Don't get lost in any of those small details. There's just absolutely no value or reason to be worrying or stressing about any of those things. There's only two realities when it comes to being a validator. First, you have to take all the necessary steps to be one. Then after that, there's only two variables that matter. The chain is either successful, not successful, or wildly successful. You know which one I'm expecting to happen, but I'm not in control of, by what I'm expecting to happen. If it's wildly successful, I mean, your mind can't comprehend what happens from there. I promise you, your mind can't comprehend it. Worrying about the little math and the little details and the last thing on your mind. Absolutely last thing on your mind. If the chain is reasonably successful, which I cannot imagine any scenario where it's not, you're still going to be so happy, no matter what the details are. And if the chain is a big failure, which is, if you know what I know, I would say is basically an impossibility or damn close to it. Anything in life can happen. Anything in life can happen. And hence why you should always diversify. Hence why you should always follow all smart, intelligent rules about finances. And also keep in mind that I am not a financial advisor. I am not a legal advisor. This is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. It's just me trying to have a Q&A, casual chat with you to help you make some decisions and sort out some confusion so you can make decisions. And yeah. Left my blocks NFTs staked to accumulate tokens. I swear we just went over exact question 3 minutes ago. Moving on. With the airdrops for Bever driven blocks, has it been confirmed? No idea when those are going out. I think those are dependent. Jason can get them out in a minute. The moment he has everything he needs. He's not being given what he needs to do that. When he will be given what he needs to do that, I don't know. So I won't speculate. But I think that the tokens go live tomorrow. So if you are contemplating moving them, just move them. The airdrops aren't big. The airdrops are certainly not going to be significant, even after yesterday. They're much bigger yesterday than they were going to be, but they're still not going to be big. It's just you're deciding to move them or don't move them would be my advice today. So you can go look up all the wallets on chain and try and wallet track and try and figure out what's in there and all that stuff. It is an option. That's the great thing about blockchain. You can go track all that stuff down. All right. So there are some other things I do want to share about validators and go back to a few of those questions that came up earlier. But before I do that, does anyone else have any other questions about the swapping or the tokenomics or the, I don't know, any other stuff that's been bothering us, any of the stuff that's kind of at the crossroads of where we are right now? Let me also remind friends and family, they have until August 5th, and then there is no more swapping. That window closes, and holy shit, is that going to be painful. In my personal opinion, for those who did not choose to be good stewards of their assets and move their real estate. Time will tell. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but at least give people the option if you're talking to them. That's my advice. Any other questions? All right, if other questions do arise and you think about them, pop them in the chat. In the meantime, let me circle back to a couple of those validator questions that came up earlier that I'd like to elaborate on. I just didn't want to spend too much time on those things, given some people just know that it's not in the cards for them to be validators for this round. I didn't want to exclude them. Yeah, Mark, I'm with you. I think a lot of people are going to have retirement parties not too long after the L1 launches. It's going to be pretty exciting. So, yes, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who won't be validators this round. However, I think that the majority of people, which excites me a lot, I think the majority of the people in the community are going to be given a few months, right, from when they first heard about it to when the window closes to still become a validator within the first 5,000, right? And how incredible for all the loyalists who've stuck around all this time to still get the opportunity to own a piece of the blockchain. I think it's amazing. I think it's awesome that it's us, the people, and not a bunch of VCs and venture capitalists or corporate run or run blockchain where none of us get to own any of it. It thrills me to no end that everyone's going to have the ability to participate if they so chose. So let me just double back. I'm waiting for other questions to see where those questions came in earlier that I wanted to just tackle and add on to. Yeah, hold up. Where is it? Wow, I'm having a hard time finding it. Okay, here it is. Here's one of them. And we'll get to the new comments after I just scrolled up here. So if you have 3 validators of one cloud, you pay all 3 contracts for the service fee. Yep. So just for clarity on that. Try to talk you into something you don't want to do. It's all voluntary. It's just an idea, but the math makes sense. Now, we have a cloud situation where there are far more customers than there are hardware to service those customers. It's a very wise idea for you to at least just collect the facts and decide if maybe you want to profit off of helping solve that problem. Case in point, let me just kind of close the open loop on this. Here's the math, and here's something else everyone needs to know about being a validator, right? The pricing that's on right now is a friggin' pre-sale, steal of a deal, very real discounted pricing. This is cheaper than most real discount providers. I think it's too cheap. I'm being really honest with you. But it's done this way because in the very early days of the blockchain, especially in testnet and things like that, we're not going to be maxing out the hardware. We're not making it work hard, right? And so that also goes to, for those of you who have been on the website for the hosting, the cloud portion of the hosting, you're going to see when you're on there that there's an add-on for adding extra memory. And that's because you do need it. the current regular default cloud hosting that you check out with right now is only half of the memory that was required as the minimum hardware standard for validators to use. And so you will need that additional memory in time, probably in the near future. I think it's going to be in the near future. I don't think it's a far out there thing. Another thing to think about when you're going through that checkout process of the validating cloud hosting portion is you want to think long and hard about just committing for the whole year. There is savings for those of you who are concerned about the costs of doing it. You're only going to be concerned for a very short period of time. I can assure you of this. You won't even think about the costs soon, just in the early days. But you want to think about potentially having an annual contract because, as Jason talked about on the weekend, you get penalized and get bad ratings if you have poor uptime. And the last thing you want to do is have a billing problem, a credit card not going through on the day that your billings due, lost the email, gone on vacation, forgot all about it. Now you're offline for 7 days. That costs you fortunes, absolute fortunes. You do not want to do that. So you should think long and hard about doing the annual programs. That's something to think about. So to add to another point I was stating earlier, just so we can kind of get this out of the way on the Q&A format, is if you are a validator, I want you to just take for loose math reasons, because like I said, as the usage goes up, your costs are going to go up a little bit. Just pick a round number because it's easy math. If you have, let's say it's $250 a month, I'm just using that round math. You have $250 a month times 3 validators in the case of this question that came up earlier. Now it's 3 times, so that now we're at $750. How long are you going to be a validator for? Are you just going to be a validator for only 1 year, for only 2 years, only 3 years, for only 5 years? I suppose 5 years from now, maybe there's a small chance that Lemon doesn't exist and you don't want to validate and it's not profitable and all that stuff. I have wild, extreme doubts about that. But let's say we talk about 3-year staking contracts. So take the 3-year contract. You get 3 software licenses times the 250 times 36 months. And see what that comes out to. And then ask yourself, would you have been better off doing it on your own hardware? If you own hardware and if you own DAO seats in the cloud, you're going to get a large portion of that monthly expense you pay for cloud hosting that's going to get sent right back to you once a month. Why would you not want to do that is all I'm saying. It's good math. It's an expense you have to take on for a white glove service that you absolutely need that provides high value. But why not have the money kind of going back into your pocket as an owner? It makes a lot of sense. I talked to a bunch of guys this week who have 5 of them. That means they literally buy a brand new physical server every single year and would have nothing to show for it. It's just not smart business. Like, you have an opportunity to diversify yourself, to create another revenue stream, to own another mega trend, to participate in another mega trend and another large enterprise potentially in the future, and be a direct beneficiary and be your own customer. That's just called wisdom in my books. So I'll leave it at that for now. We can go back and talk about it. I'm going to take on these other questions and make sure there aren't other questions, and we can circle back for those of you who are validators and do want to discuss those things. How much for validators in October or September? I believe that the price will be the same. I believe, but do not quote me on it. But in 2 years or 3 years or whenever another batch opens up and there'll be 10,000 validators, and, you know, I expect the price to be very different then. Got another question here from Nick. Rev, Bev, drip, locked seats in my Lemon wallet, staked. Do I have to unstake all except blocks to swap? You only have to unstake that which you intend to swap right now. Everything else will just convert over after the vote when the migration's ready. Just curious, validation proposals are being orchestrated by Aldo. What are the response? Great question, Dave. I did talk about that earlier, so let me re-summarize that in case you missed it, because it's very important. It's not insignificant. The responsibilities are very, very low for the people who pooled their way into a validator pool. That is kind of what all those commitment to the pools is that he's going to kind of take care of most stuff. However, the way the model is orchestrated is that, shared revenue, but shared expenses, right? There was a share to everyone shared in buying the real estate license, however you want to look at it in the beginning. And everyone's got to share in the cloud hosting expenses that come with those pools. And the idea in the future is that you just deduct it off the proceeds and then you distribute out, what remains to everybody. However, because we must go in a test net, because it'll still be another few weeks or a month before we actually launch the actual L1, there won't be any proceeds. And ergo, that cloud hosting fee does need to get covered right now. And there's no chance Aldo's going to cover a dozen of them by himself. So he may have another plan. I haven't talked with him about this in a little bit. But I suspect there's going to be some kind of little bit of crowdfunding in the beginning to get it off the ground. And then there'll be a deduction of proceeds from that point on. So we will have enough for the test. No worries about that. There's a few hundred-ish that have already been moved. The other ones will definitely come before the deadline. I have zero concerns about that. If you don't prepay for the extra memory, well, that's the problem, Suzanne, right? I mean, you're obviously going to get some kind of communication sent to you, right? And there should be some kind of dashboard about some kind of what your utilization is like. But let's be honest, most people never check their emails. They always forget it. It goes to spam. And then they say, I didn't know. No one sent me the email. I mean, I would be a very rich man if I had $1 for every time someone told me they didn't receive something. And lo and behold, when we go look under the couch cushion and check the spam folder, it's right friggin' there. Right. So, yeah, yes, you're going to need it. And most people are going to claim that they missed some kind of notification. So for a lot of people, it probably makes sense to just get it handled now, but that is a choice. That I also covered this on several calls. It is absolutely impossible to calculate an ROI. There is no ROI on any of these things. It's not how it works. You own a piece of the blockchain and there might be 10 million transactions a day. There might be only 10,000 transactions a day. There's absolutely no possible way to predict. There's hundreds of millions of variables literally that would affect how much lands in your account. Any idea if your server owner and your machine is not online, is going to Atlanta site? Mark, go see my last FAQ video. I absolutely covered this very, very much. So how that works. Do you earn LEMX during the month of testing as a validator? Corey, that is a really great question, and I don't have the exact number on. Do we earn LEMX during the month of testing as a validator? It's a great question. I don't think so. And if we do, I would expect it to be pretty insignificant relative to the long term. How about we say it that way? Pretty significant relative to the long term, I think, is a fair statement if there's anything that comes in. But in the meantime, you'll have lots of NFTs and lots of other stuff going to work for you and serving you well. And it's one of those things that it's painful to have to go through the test net. We all just want it friggin' live like now, but there just is there's no possible way for us to go live without doing this test net. So it's a painful process, and hopefully it only lasts a couple of weeks, and then we would be, ready to go. So hopefully let's see what we got. Question here. Whoops. It'd be cool to hear how you would balance holding long-term and selling to get more NFTs. Everyone's got a different strategy, right? If you live in South Africa, or if you live in, I don't know, some low-income Asian country, your goals and my goals where I live are going to be very different. My living expenses are freaking hella high, so it depends. It depends if you have other businesses, other income streams. It depends on, are you trying to live off it today? Are you just trying to plan your future? Are you trying to plan your retirement? There's a time and a place to always consider giving up some of your long-term gains, but do it to compound your way up. Do it to compound and level up. Don't just do it to blow the money. Like so many fools yesterday sold for friggin' peanuts. Some people were like, I won so big. They're so thrilled. They sold their rev for $2 friggin'. What do they think is going to happen when it's $100 in a few months from now? What happens if it's $1,000 by Christmas? Are they going to be thrilled they sold it for $2? No, they're going to be the guys wearing the kick me sign over in the corner feeling really stupid, right? So if you're using a little to leverage up and level up and make some strategic moves, there's a time and a place for everyone to weigh that out. You know what I mean? For those of you who are set on wanting to be a validator, for example, this is a great example. You may want to, that may be a time and a place to level up. If you have 3 validators and you don't really feel comfortable about the monthly expenses of the hosting on those, you trade in some future gains on something, on some token somewhere that allows you to get some hardware. So then that you're kind of paying yourself because you own the hardware, and whatever hardware you're not using gets rented out to other people in the cloud, and you turn your expenses into a cash flowing revenue stream. That's a worthy consideration. It's a worthy consideration to diversify, right? If you see that there's just massive short-term opportunities and you ape in and you went in too heavy, I get why people do that. But you may not want to stay 100% all in, everything all in one place. And if something goes wrong, which we have seen before, unfortunately, that you're all in and you did, sometimes you can take some a little bit back out off the table and reallocate and rebalance yourself out a little bit. Sometimes is wise. Chris, was that supposed to be a question on there? I'm not sure. Rowan says, can the ongoing validator monthly costs come from rewards earned from the L2 projects? Yeah, you just got to pay your cloud hosting bill any way that you can, right? However that looks like. And you're not going to need to worry about it once L1's live and everything's rocking and rolling and lots of new users start coming in and new exchanges go live. And when that kind of stuff starts happening, you got nothing to worry about. The expenses will be so insignificant, you won't even think about them. They'll just be, you'll end up going in and saying, can I pay for the next 3 years in one click so I don't have to think about it? That's the kind of mentality you're probably going to arrive at. How often do validators pay out rewards? I feel like we covered this many times, so let's do it again while we're at it. Validators don't have any set time schedules. They don't pay out at any set time intervals whatsoever. Some of the tokens are going to go on there and get locked for 3 years, and you're going to see 0 from those until the contract expires. The validator gets their rewards every time a contract expires. The shortest term contract is 14 days. There will be a lot of people, as Jay and I discussed on the weekend, who, let's say on the 13th of the month, know they want to take some off the table for, let's say, rent. They know they got some rent due on the 1st of the month, or a mortgage payment due on the 1st of the month, or a car payment, or whatever. They've got some extra lemon coins sitting there doing absolutely nothing, making them no money at all. And there aren't any NFTs they want to put it in because they know they need this money in a couple of weeks. What are they going to do? The smart move. They're going to go and contact the validator network and say, hey, listen, I want to do a delegated stake for 14 days. That's going to unlock on the 29th right before rent is due. And instead of the 100 tokens that they had before the staking, they now have 120 tokens. They got more tokens than they had before. And so they did a short-term stake. That short-term stake ends. The validator gets about 80% of that reward, and the delegated staker gets his 20-ish% of that reward. And so what's going to happen if the chain is successful, if the chain's got hundreds of thousands of millions and millions and millions of users, you're going to have a delegated stake that is ending every hour of the friggin' day. Ding, 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 ding. Delegated stakes, just ending. Rewards hit the wallet, hit the wallet, hit the wallet, hit the wallet, hit the wallet. But it is all solely based on the conclusion of the contract. Outside of that, if that's not enough regular cash flow for you, then you go and start minting a shit ton of NFTs. That's the answer to that question. Yeah, great question about the gas fees. I know there was some confusion in the early days because there are a lot of validator networks and a lot of blockchains that operate that way, but this chain does not operate that way. What's been decided upon is offering really juicy, predetermined APY on staking entices more and big money to come and stake with us. You can go to a friggin' bank and make nothing, or you can meet the local wealthy people in town and tell them you can provide them a really juicy return on their $10 million, and they're never going to put it with the bank. They're going to come stake it on the network, and you're going to get a nice big juicy reward. They're going to get a nice big juicy reward. And those rewards are calculated, and that's why they're so variable. But it's all based on modeling of how much gas fees and how much minting fees and other network fees are going to come through, because those are the things that actually provide those staking returns that people are enjoying. So hopefully that helps. With these Mega Lemon projects coming in, will it ultimately raise the value? Oh my God, like you wouldn't believe. All right, Chris is asking, will the Mega Lemon projects come in and raise the value of the L2 projects compared to LEMX? Let's have a serious tokenomics lesson before we get on to validators and other stuff again. I don't think anyone in the network really understands this in the community, but you need to. So on the new 5 projects, let's use that example. On those new 5 projects, they have to lock up a certain amount of LEMX. Okay, that LEMX goes into a contract to be divided out amongst the next 24 months. If I misspeak on anything, it's just because it's been a few weeks since I read the live papers, but you're going to get the gist of it, and that's all you need to get right now. And I will apologize if I misspeak on anything ahead of time, and I'll apologize down the road as well. But I'm just going off memory. That gets locked up for 24 months. It gets equally divided for 24 months to become the trust buy and burn mechanism for that project. That is the initial liquidity for that project, if you will. Now, when your LEM coin is only $75 and you take 1/24 of 50,000, it's not a very big number at all. And then what happens is then Shabir and the marketing team go out. Let's use the Lemflix example. They go out with Lemflix and they bring back 100,000 customers. Well, $1 from each one of those subscribers also goes into the wallet on top of the original 50,000 that was in there. Right? So those lemon seeds come into the thing. That's your trust buy and burn. So in the early days, there's not a huge amount of support. It's not the amount of support that rocks the ecosystem. And you've got lots of speculators and day traders and buyers and holders all swapping tokens out and all that good stuff. The following month, the token doubles, goes to 150. Well, the amount from that locked portion that is going to become a part of the trust buy and burn has double the USD value the following month when those tokens get unlocked to come play the buy burn function. A few months down the road, it's $1,000. Now do the math. The math gets stupid. 6 months down the road, we're at $10,000, $100,000. Fill in the blank. I'm just using round numbers. This is not an ROI. This is not financial advice. This is not a guarantee. This is not anything I'm in control of. I'm just using those numbers, and you start playing with that math, and you see if you get to that 100K level, that buy and burn wallet is now in the billions with a B. with the B. And there'll be almost no tokens left in the account whatsoever come then. Hear me out. I'm telling you, especially on the early projects like Lemflix, there'll be no tokens. And then you're going to have this massive pile of LemX sitting over there ready to come in. It's just math, friends. And why or how does LemX get to those cuckoo numbers? Mega Lemon. I'm just using an example. If the Panama Canal gets listed on Mega Lemon and the world's institutional investors get wise to the game or the opportunity that's being presented to them, we're talking about obscene amounts of money, billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of buying power flowing through that LemX. That's what gets those numbers up to stupid town. Oh, that, and let's not forget that the Validator network offers really juicy returns. So the entire supply gets staked up and locked up in a contract. No supply, massive walls of money. It's just math. It's not me guaranteeing you anything. It's me saying it's just a math equation and it only has one outcome. Yeah, that's not going to happen, Brad. You're going to pay in for your cloud hosting service. And then once a month if you are a hardware owner, if you are a DAO seat owner, and by the way, I think you're friggin' nuts to not be a hardware owner and not a DAO seat owner. And if you say, well, I can't afford the hardware, then you could definitely afford a DAO seat. And I think that's a very good move. For those of you who don't know anything about that, you're free to DM me and I'll send you some videos and links and you can make the decision that feels right for you. I'm not trying to talk you into doing things you don't want to do. It either makes sense to you or it doesn't. Makes a lot of sense to this guy. No, we have something much better than a stable coin. We have walls and walls and walls of money hitting a non-existent supply, meaning that it's stable, all right, or unstable, depending on how you measure it, as in the value only goes in one direction. That's much better in a stable coin. Do you want to hold something that's pegged to fiat that only goes down, or do you want to hold something that's completely gridlocked and locked into future tsunamis of money hitting it, so it only goes in one direction? I would never want to hold a stable coin. So I don't know of any plans for a stable coin. I don't think there will be. Doesn't make sense in this ecosystem in this guy's brain. Will the L2s also be staked? Corey, I'm not sure I follow your question. You cannot get any reward distributions for your NFTs without being staked. Chris, I hope that made sense. If you guys understand what I just described in terms of tokenomics, then you have got a serious window into the future. And if you have not understood that up until now, holy hell, are you missing out? And that's also why, friends, that the royalties, although it's super califragilistic, awesome, whatever the hell word you want to use, that they are there on day one, revenue generating. And we got guys like Shabir who can reach almost every eyeball on the planet to drive those products and services and drive those revenues and stack up those trust accounts. The truth is, in the first 24 months, they play the smallest role relative to this leverage model that we already have. So brilliant. It's fantastic. But if you get that, but by the way, then eventually those will expire at the end of the 24-month window. And then it's all dependent on royalties. But by then, these should be massive businesses just still providing gobs of royalties. Fantastic for all of us, right? Let's go. Hey, where's the LFGs in here, man? Let's get some LFGs in here. I dig. There's my LFGs. Good point. Good. Does the USA allow staking for anybody? Yeah, whatever. It's called a VPN. Permissionless, guys. Watch that permissionless video. Stop living your life like you're asking for anyone's fucking permission for anything in life. Grown-ass adults don't need anyone's fucking permission. Yeah, strong money more than BTC, right? For those who didn't see the videos that I put out 6-ish months ago where I very clearly explain the central premises behind a inflationary supply versus a fixed supply versus a deflationary supply currency. If you understand that, you have to understand that basic premise. If you do, you realize that the dirty fiat system is inflationary AF, and it's awful, awful. And I hope it ends. And I think we may be on the verge of ending it. Then you got a fixed supply currency, which was a novel idea. It used to be fixed, right? But in our world, for today's population, that is a novel idea, the fixed supply currency, BTC. And BTC changed the world. BTC will not be the future, but it did change the world. But deflationary versus fixed supply? Hell no. Mega Lemon pushed me over the edge to pull together more money to get an additional validator. Nice, Suzanne. Nice. And you are also a hardware owner and will be validating on your own cloud. Good for you. Fantastic. Wise decisions, in my opinion. Amen, brother. Good. Glad you guys are getting you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. Let me know if you're picking up what I'm putting down, the lifestyle. You know what I'm saying in the chats? Do you have any insight into the gas fees and the lemon chain? Will those be similar to expense? Yeah, Corey, that's along the lines of what I'm expecting. I don't know. I don't know if a final number's been arrived at. They're constantly playing with the math equations because there's lots of modeling for how many gas fees versus mint fees versus other on-chain fees and stuff like that will generate the APY, and so we can put out the fixed supply APY based on the variables ahead of time and then have those fees get generated via things like gas fees. So in my mind, I just picture quarter. And for you validators, you know, you're not going to see it in that way, but picture it that way, right? If 10 million transactions happen on the chain per day, quarter, all of those are essentially going to the owners of the network. Who owns the network? You, me. That's what I'm talking about. Fuck yeah, I like those LFGs. Bring them on. Let's do it. Attaboy, Frankie. And no need to filter your conversations around me, man. No censorship required in this guy's house. But I do love the lemon. Yeah, Nick, I know you understand the permissionless lifestyle. I know you totally get that. Hashtag, that's the only way that I live, man. In all things. I mean, will we ever be able to stake the coins we receive from staking our L2 NFTs? No, you will not be staking Lemflix. Maybe in the future. It might be a future consideration, but for the short term, it's just LemX for now. Attaboy, Frankie. LFG, you get it. I'll take on a couple more questions if you have them. Then we'll wrap it up here in a minute. But two other things I just wanted to talk about. One is if we're going where we think we're going, if you heard the math that I was just describing, you know, Jason mentioned it the other day. He's like, if you're a validator, you're gonna have to treat your privacy online and offline very differently. It's okay to share with this community that we're validators, right? And that's one of the downsides of me being a public face, because I do value privacy a lot. When you're a validator, if this chain's really successful, you know, there are a lot of reasons why you need to be private, but you need to be very careful online too, because you do not want to get a wallet hack or a wallet drained account. And most of you have absolutely terrible OPSEC, absolutely terrible OPSEC, operational security, by the and you're vulnerable as hell. So a lot of people have been asking me about doing a privacy course. It's just one of those things like, I ain't doing it for me. If you guys need it or want it, it would be a very modest charge, but I'm willing to do a course. But I would have to put quite a bit of work to kind of compile it, even though I know it, and to figure out how we set it all up. So if there's an interest, just let me know. I don't know how. If we have enough interest, I'll do the course, basically. If I don't, best of luck. Hope you don't get robbed. That's just all I'm saying. I'm just trying to reduce your risk of that, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, and for those who are validators especially, or for those who just see the wisdom in diversifying, You can diversify in any number of ways, but I think I like mega trends, hence the name of my YouTube channel. I'm looking for mega trends. Big data, cloud, AI, clearly a mega trend. I love the idea of being an owner. I just do. You don't have to love the idea as much as I do, and really don't care, but that's me. I'm going to do that. So, hey, so if you have interest or just want to learn more about it, kick the tires. I ain't going to chase you, but I will send you more information, answer the questions, get you that clarity that you want, and you can make the decision that feels best for you. Any other questions coming up here? Cool, Dave. I do appreciate that offer. I might take you up on that. We'll see. Depends how much my wife wants to help too, I suppose. Privacy tools. Cool, Suzanne. Glad you see the wisdom in that. All right, good stuff, friends. I'm going to wrap it up here. We're just over the hour, and we're going to have more calls coming up. I'm expecting some massive announcements this week. So stay close to the campfire. Stay plugged in. You don't want to miss out on them. And we'll catch you on another call soon, guys. Have a good one. Take care. I'm out.